the dawn awakening. You wake before the first light appears. There is no alarm, no schedule, no obligation, only instinct and cold. That all-consuming cold that wraps around your skin like a sheet of ice, even beneath the furs that cover you. You're nestled in your mother's arms, squeezed between the warmth of her chest and the bony body of your younger brother, who snores softly in his sleep. Beneath you, the compacted layers of grass, moss, and animal hides creak faintly. Above, the low ceiling of the cave looms like a stone vault, blackened by centuries of smoke and soot. Your eyes are still heavy with sleep, but you already feel it. The night is nearly over. You open them slowly, accustomed to the darkness. In the dim glow of smouldering embers you see shadows. Bodies, legs, hair, hands, all folded together like one great breathing animal. You exhale. A plume of vapour rises before your face, mingles with the cold air and fades. You try not to move, afraid to wake anyone, but the cold urges you to act. You pull the animal hide tighter around your shoulders, a piece of reindeer skin from a beast that once fed the whole tribe. It smells of earth, smoke, and a life now gone. Outside you hear it, the low mournful sound of the wind sliding across the plains. It's not a hostile sound, but it isn't welcoming either. It just is, like it always has been. Sometimes it carries snow, sometimes the scent of a nearby herd. Today it smells of stone, frozen water, and loneliness. Your mother stirs beside you. Her breath changes rhythm. She knows it too. It's time. Says nothing, but her hand searches for yours and gives it a gentle squeeze. A gesture more powerful than words. I'm here, and you are strong. In this world where every moment counts, love is silent but unbreakable. Slowly the cave begins to stir. A cough, a yawn, the shuffling of feet, the rustling of hides being pulled aside. Someone sniffs and wipes their nose on a scrap of fur. The air fills with old scents, sleep, smoke, human, but also with a sense of purpose, because the day is beginning, and with it the struggle to exist. You pull your legs from under you and place your bare feet on the cold stone. They protest, but you're used to it. You crawl past sleeping bodies toward the edge of the cave, where morning's dim light begins to push back the darkness. In the distance you see the outline of bare trees and low hills, frozen in stillness. You know, soon the fire will be lit again. Soon water will be fetched. Soon the search for food will begin, for anything. Maybe there will be tracks of rabbits, maybe birds, maybe nothing. But no one stays behind, not even you, though you're still a child. In the tribe, everyone is needed. You think of today's tasks. Maybe you'll help the firekeeper, or go with the women to search for roots. Maybe you'll learn something new from the toolmaker, how to shape a scraper from flint or how to stretch sinew without snapping it. Every day is a chance to learn, or a chance to fail, but doing nothing is not an option. Behind you, you hear voices, soft but clear. The elders are awake, soon they'll decide who will do what. You always listen, not with your mouth, but with your eyes and ears, because one day you might sit there too, if you live long enough. You blow out your breath again and watch it rise and disappear, like thoughts, dreams, and spirits. For a brief moment you're completely still, just you and the wind, and then you turn back. Your day has begun, not with sunlight, but with the realization that you must survive. And survival begins with waking up. The firekeeper's first task. She's already sitting upright while the rest of the cave still sleeps. Her eyes are sharp, but her movements are slow and deliberate. The firekeeper. 14 winters old, small in size, but bearing a responsibility far greater than herself. In the darkness, she's the guardian of warmth, the keeper of life. No one tells her what to do. She knows, as it was taught to her, as she will one day teach you. You hear her breathing as she leans over the heart of the camp. the fire. Or rather, what's left of it. A pile of ash, faintly glowing. No flames, just smouldering coals, red, dim, alive. She picks up a hollowed-out bone and uses it as a blowpipe. She places her mouth at the edge and blows gently, with rhythm and patience, not too fast, not too hard, just as she was taught. The ash stirs, a spark, a flicker, a promise. She takes a clump of dried moss from a pouch at her waist. In it are tufts of grass, fine twigs, a piece of birch bark, everything that can feed a flame. She places it like a tiny offering on the glowing spot and blows again. You see the vapour of her breath vanish into the warmth. You see the smoke begin to curl, and then fire. First flickering, then dancing, shadows move again. The fire is alive. Without fire there is nothing, no light to recognise each other, no warmth to push away the cold, no food to cook, no smoke to repel the insects, no stories to sit beside, no safety through the night. Fire is the sun in your darkness, and she is the one who guards it. She sits there now, like a small sentinel, her hair braided tightly, her skin dulled by soot and smoke. Her eyes shine in the light she's just awakened. You admire her, not the way you admire adults with distance, but with the realization that she's still young, someone like you, but also someone with a role, a duty, a strength. You shuffle quietly closer. The stone beneath your knees feels cold, but you forget it. You want to see, to understand. She notices you and nods. No words, just a gesture. You're allowed to watch, and if you watch carefully, maybe you'll begin to understand. She adds small pieces of wood deliberately. First twigs, then splinters of pine. No logs, no hurry. Fire needs time to grow, just like people. She arranges the wood in a small triangle. Within moments the flames lick along the dry branches. Warmth begins to spread across the stone floor. You feel it on your face. You ask nothing, because asking isn't how you learn here. You learn by watching, by being quiet, by remembering. Tomorrow maybe you'll get to add the moss. In a moon's time maybe you'll get to blow, and if you can make fire, real fire from nothing but cold ash, then you belong. Behind you, someone stirs. A baby cries. Its mother murmurs sleepily and pulls the child closer. Someone sneezes. Yet still the fire is the only thing truly awake. The fire and her. The firekeeper takes a handful of ash and sprinkles it around the edge of the flames. Not to extinguish it, but to contain it. She knows where the fire is allowed to reach and where it must not. One stray spark on skin can burn, one misplaced branch can consume everything. Fire feeds, but it devours too, and she must know both, the gift and the danger. You look at her hand. She has scars, small round marks along her wrist. You know what that means. Once she got too close. Once she made a mistake. But she's still here. She learned, and that makes her strong. You close your eyes for a moment just to feel the warmth on your cheeks, the scent of smoke, resin, old wood, the crackling, the soft hiss of burning air. This isn't magic. It's skill, practice, tradition. And you know, one day, this task will be yours. And when that day comes, you'll carry the fire just as she does now, between breath and ash, between fear and pride. The morning council. The sky outside is slowly brightening, but inside the cave the light still belongs to fire. Its flickering glow casts long shadows on the stone walls, where ancient soot-darkened shapes and fading handprints mark the presence of those who came before. The air smells of smoke and morning breath, damp fur and sleeping bodies. But near the fire, the world is already awake. The elders have gathered. You sit just outside their circle, your knees pulled to your chest, watching without speaking. No one tells you to stay silent. You simply know. This moment is sacred. This is the morning council. They sit low, cross-legged or kneeling, wrapped in thick furs, their faces weathered by wind and wisdom. They say little, sometimes nothing at all. Their communication flows through nods, furrowed brows, a pointed finger, a sideways glance. Their silence holds more meaning than most people's words. It's a language of understanding built over decades of shared winters and hunts, of survival and sorrow. One elder lifts a piece of charcoal and draws lines on the stone near the fire. Symbols only they fully understand. Maybe it's a tally of food stores. Maybe a sign of where the herds were last seen. You don't need to know exactly. You understand what matters. Today must be planned. A woman gestures toward the east, where the hills are thinly forested. Another taps her knee twice, then makes a flicking motion. Rabbits. A man with a hawk feather in his hair nods slowly, rubbing the scarred side of his face. That means he'll go. He's still strong. His eyes, though cloudy with age, miss nothing. Then someone points to you. You freeze. At first you're not sure what you saw, but it happens again, a nod in your direction. Then a second elder looks at you and lifts 2 fingers, then closes a fist. It's a sign, a task, permission. You're going with the gatherers? Your heart jumps. You try not to smile too widely, not to show too much excitement, but inside you're burning with pride. This will be your first full day joining the gathering party, not just trailing behind or helping carry firewood. Today you'll be a part of the effort. You steal a glance at your mother across the cave. She doesn't smile, but you see the pride in her eyes. Her chin lifts slightly, approval, encouragement, and a warning. Be alert. Watch everything. The council continues. A small group will check the traps in the western woods. Another will follow the riverbed, hoping to find fish washed into the shallows by last night's rain. Someone will stay with the young children. Your cousin, who limps, is already preparing food for them. The oldest woman, whose voice is barely above a whisper, will watch the fire and tend to the sick. No one is idle. No one is ever idle. The council ends the same way it always does, not with fanfare or ceremony, but with action. The group breaks apart naturally, everyone already knowing what to do. The hunters begin sharpening spears. The gatherers tie woven bags to their belts, water containers are checked, knives wrapped, tools counted. You rise quietly, your legs stiff from sitting so long on stone, and move to where the gatherers are preparing. One of the older girls hands you a pouch. It's light now, but you hope it will be full by midday, with roots, bulbs, berries, leaves, anything edible, anything useful, nothing wasted. As you tie the pouch around your waist, you realize how much this moment matters. This is how the world works here. Not by commands, not by orders, but by watching and waiting, earning trust and stepping forward when the moment is right. Today, you stepped forward. You look back at the fire once more. The elders have already disappeared into their own tasks. The council is over, but its effects ripple outward. Every life shaped by the quiet decisions made in that glowing circle. You step out into the cold, the morning air sharp in your lungs. Today is your first true step into the rhythm of the tribe. You will follow, you will carry, you will learn. And if you're quiet, if you're clever, maybe tomorrow someone else will look at you with the same nod of trust. Water and the daily journey. The morning air is sharp against your cheeks as you step out of the cave, the cold biting at your skin like invisible teeth. In your hand you carry a hollowed-out gourd tied to your wrist with a strip of sinew. It's light now, empty. But soon, if you are careful and lucky, it will be full of water, the most precious thing your people know. You're not alone. 3 women from the tribe walk ahead of you, their strides confident and sure across the uneven terrain. Behind you walks an older boy, perhaps 12 or 13, silent but alert, a small stone axe hanging at his hip. This is no leisurely walk. This is a journey with purpose. You descend into the valley where the stream runs thin but steady. The path down is steep, worn into the slope by generations of bare feet, Your toes find crevices and footholds as you follow the group downward. Loose stones shift beneath you. Twigs snap beneath your steps. Thorny shrubs claw at your calves, but you push forward without complaint. The women speak little, but when they do, their voices are low, as if the trees themselves are listening. One stops briefly to examine a cluster of dark berries nestled beneath a patch of frost. She plucks a few, smells them, and places them in a pouch tied to her belt. Another woman scrapes bark from a tree with a sharpened bone and hands you a strip. Chew, she says simply. It's bitter, but it numbs the cold in your mouth and wakes your senses. Along the way, you pass familiar landmarks. An old tree split by lightning, a pile of stones that marks the place where a bear was once killed, a smooth boulder shaped like a sleeping mammoth. These markers are like silent storytellers, whispering of past hunts, storms, and survival. Your gourd bounces gently at your side. The cold has seeped into your bones now. Your feet ache from the chill of the earth, and your knees are scraped from slipping on the stone trail, but you say nothing. No one else complains, and neither will you. This is not punishment. This is not a chore. This is what must be done. Water is everything. Without it, food cannot be cooked. Thirst cannot be quenched. Wounds cannot be cleaned. Children cannot grow. You've heard the stories, how in some seasons the streams dry up and the people must walk far, even fight to find new sources. Some tribes did not survive those years. So you walk carefully, respectfully, as though the water itself is sacred, and it is. Finally, the stream appears through the frost-covered reeds, its surface shimmering beneath a thin crust of ice. One of the women crouches and breaks the film with a stick, watching carefully to make sure the water beneath still flows. It does. Barely. But it moves. You kneel beside her and scoop the water with your gourd. Slowly, carefully, so the water stays clean. You feel the shock of cold shoot through your fingers. It hurts, but you don't flinch. This is how it's done. When your gourd is full, you tie it tightly and place it in a leather sling to carry back. The boy behind you does the same, glancing at the sky, checking how long you've been away. Time matters. Too long and the fire at home may need tending, or worse, something may find you here. But the women are not done. They move along the stream now, searching its banks' plants and roots, horsetail, mint, and bittercress. You watch as they work with precision, never wasting effort. They gather what they need and leave the rest. Always enough, never too much. One of them hands you a bunch of leaves to carry. Remember this shape, she says. This one helps when the stomach burns. You nod, committing it to memory. This is how learning happens. Not through lessons, but through walking, watching, and doing. On the way back, your arms grow tired. The gourd is heavier now, sloshing gently with each step. The wind cuts harder here, coming down from the open ridge. You pull your fur tighter and lean forward into the cold. Still, you do not stop. Because this is not just a journey to fetch water. It is a ritual, a daily pilgrimage, a quiet act of devotion to the land that gives and takes, an unspoken promise that you will return again and again to gather what the earth allows. And as you climb the slope back toward the cave, feet aching, legs trembling, hands chilled to the bone, you feel something else too. Pride. Not because someone praised you, but because today you did what needed to be done. The breakfast hunt. The cold still clings to the earth as you walk through the brittle grass, following the older boy through the thinning trees. The women have gone one way, continuing their gathering. You and the boy take a different path, quieter, slower, eyes scanning the earth. The sun is barely climbing above the hills. Its warmth is weak, filtered through mist and bare branches, but it is enough to see the signs. There, just ahead. He stops and crouches low, holding up a hand. You freeze, instantly mimicking his posture. You don't ask questions. You follow. He brushes the frost off a patch of dirt and leans in. You do the same, Two small clean prints pressed into the mud, delicate, parallel and fresh. Rabbit. The boy runs a calloused finger around the edge of the track. He glances at the nearby shrubs, looks for broken twigs, disturbed leaves, any sign of a trail. He moves with purpose, with rhythm, like someone who's done this more times than he can count. And though he says nothing, you understand his thoughts. The prints are fresh. The rabbit can't be far. You clutch the sling that holds your gourd of water and shift your weight carefully. Every step matters now. One crack of a branch, one heavy footfall, and the animal will vanish like smoke. The boy has already notched an arrow into his small wooden bow. It's simple, just a bend of birch and a sinew string, but in his hands it becomes something powerful. He's patient, silent. You watch his fingers, his breath, then movement. A flicker of fur among the reeds. The boy steps sideways, aims. You hold your breath. A soft twang. The arrow whistles, barely audible, and strikes. A thud, a burst of motion. Then stillness. You run to the spot with him. The rabbit has fallen, kicking once, twice, then going limp. Its eyes stare out at nothing. The arrow has pierced just below the rib, a clean shot. You can see the boy's shoulders relax. He pulls the arrow out slowly and wipes it clean on a tuft of moss. For a moment, you're both quiet, not out of fear or sadness, but respect. He crouches and begins to work. He carries a blade of flint, sharp and thin. He flips the rabbit on its back, presses gently along its belly, and begins to open it. You kneel beside him, watching closely. He works with care, not wasting emotion. The skin peels back with practiced effort. The entrails are removed and buried beneath loose soil. The meat is placed into a pouch lined with leaves to keep it clean. This is not a trophy. This is food. The boy looks up at you and hands you the animal's feet. For the fire, he says simply. You nod and tuck them into your satchel. They will be burned later. Part of a ritual, part of the thanks. As you begin the walk back to the cave, your stomach groans loudly. The boy smirks but says nothing. His does the same. Neither of you has eaten since nightfall. That rabbit, small as it is, means everything. It is warmth. It is energy. It is a beginning. Back at the cave, smoke already drifts toward the sky in thin ribbons. The firekeeper has done her job well. The flames welcome you home like a familiar spirit. Others have returned too, carrying roots, a few early mushrooms, bits of bark, herbs. Not much, but together it's enough. The rabbit is skewered on a sharpened stick and placed over the fire. The smell is immediate, rich, earthy, primal. Your mouth waters as the fat begins to crackle and drip onto the coals. It hisses softly. You sit near the flames, hands outstretched for warmth, eyes locked on the meat. The boy sits beside you, silently checking his arrows, already thinking of the next hunt. When the meat is cooked, it's torn and passed around. No ceremony, just hands and hunger. You take a piece. It burns your fingers, but you don't care. The first bite is heavenly, smoky, salty, chewy. You chew slowly, savouring it like it's the finest meal in the world. Maybe it is. Because here, every bite is earned. The rabbit is small, the meat is gone quickly, but your belly, though not full, is satisfied. For now, you lean back, the fire warming your skin, smoke curling into your hair. The wind outside howls gently over the rocks, but inside this circle all is calm. You hunted nothing today. You drew no bow, but you watched, you learned. And tomorrow, maybe, it will be your hand that holds the arrow. And maybe it will fly true. The toolmaker's workshop. Back at the camp, the air is still thick with the scent of smoke and roasted meat. Bellies are warmer now, though not full. The fire crackles steadily as the morning sun creeps higher in the sky, casting a golden glow across the cave's threshold. Near the entrance, where the light is strongest, the toolmaker settles into his place. He's not old, but he feels ancient to you. His hands are thick with calluses and small scars from 1,000 tiny cuts, and his fingers are permanently stained with stone dust and blood. His face is quiet, neither stern nor kind, but focused. He speaks rarely, but when he does, it matters. He unwraps a piece of tanned hide and reveals today's work. Shards of flint, antler rods, bone handles, sinew cord. These are not toys. These are the heartbeat of survival. Without them, there are no spears, no skinned hides, no carved traps, no scraped roots. Tools are everything. You crouch a few feet away, careful not to disturb the layout. He glances at you and then nods. Not an invitation, not praise, but permission. You may watch. He picks up a block of raw flint and turns it in his hand, feeling its weight. Then he grabs a heavy deer antler worn smooth from use. With a swift, practiced movement, he strikes the stone. A loud crack. A flake shears off. You flinch slightly, but he doesn't. This is precision, not violence. Tiny sparks leap from the point of impact. The sound is sharp, like ice snapping underfoot. Another strike, clean, angled. Another shard falls into his lap. He inspects it, turns it toward the light, and sets it aside. Too thin for a scraper. Maybe for an arrowhead. Maybe nothing. You watch every motion, eyes wide. The stone doesn't yield easily. It fights back. But in his hands, even resistance becomes something useful. He holds up 2 different pieces of flint to you and points. This is a knife, he says simply, for cutting meat, hide, sinew. Then he picks up another, shaped wider and rounder. Scraper, for cleaning hides, working bark. Finally he holds a long, narrow shard. Spear tip, for killing. 3 tools, 3 futures. Each begins with a blow, each shaped with intention. He shows you how to strike, not with rage, but with rhythm. Too strong, he says, pointing at a broken tip. It splits. Useless. He hands you the antler and places a rough-edged flint in your palm. It's heavier than it looks. Cold. Jagged. You position the antler like he showed you. Raise it. Strike. Too soft. Nothing happens. He doesn't laugh. He simply motions again. Angle, not strength. You try again. This time a flake peels away, thin and imperfect. He nods. Better. The process is slow, so slow. But as the sun rises higher, you begin to understand the rhythm. Strike, turn, inspect, listen. The stone tells you when it's ready and when it's not. Around you, life in the camp moves on. The gatherers sort herbs and roots into piles. Children chase each other near the fire. A woman braids rope from dried grasses. But you stay with the toolmaker, locked in the silent dance between bone and stone. He begins working on a new piece. A spearhead this time. Long, sharp, deadly. You watch how he scores a centre ridge, how he narrows the base to fit into a shaft. You imagine the spear in flight. You imagine the animal falling. And you realise it all starts here, not at the hunt, not with muscle, but with the edge of a tool. He finishes the point and sets it on the hide. Then he takes a sliver of bone and drills a hole into a smooth handle. With sinew he binds the blade in place, pulling the cord taut with his teeth. The tool is whole now, complete, ready for use, ready for survival. He hands it to you not to keep but to hold. You grip it carefully, feeling its weight. It's beautiful in a quiet way, dangerous, useful, alive. He looks at you, and in his expression is something like approval, not spoken, not exaggerated, just enough. You hand it back, because one day, when your hands are stronger, when your strikes are cleaner, you'll make one of your own. And when that day comes, you won't just be a watcher. You'll be a maker. The gathering expedition. The fire fades behind you as you step into the forest, deeper than you've ever gone before. The trees grow thicker here, their branches arching high above, filtering the pale sunlight into flickering patches of gold. The air is colder in the shadows, moist, quiet. Only the crunch of frost beneath your feet and the breath of those beside you breaks the silence. You walk among the gatherers, 3 women and a girl barely older than you. They move like they belong here. Their eyes scan the underbrush with practiced speed. Their feet know which stones to avoid. Their hands reach out automatically for useful things, leaves, bark, berries, without hesitation. You follow close behind. Your hands are trembling, not only from the cold that bites through your fur sleeves, but also from excitement. This is your first true expedition. Not a game, not a lesson in camp. This is real. At your side hangs a small basket woven from reeds and rushes by your aunt. It still smells of damp grass. It's light now, empty, waiting. You watch carefully as one of the women kneels beside a patch of earth and brushes away the leaves. Beneath, a cluster of tubers clings to the soil. She takes a sharpened stick and pries one free. A root, white, gnarled, the size of a clenched fist. She smells it, scrapes the skin with her nail and nods. Edible. She drops it into her basket and moves on. Another woman points to a patch of mushrooms growing from the base of a birch. Some are pale, others a soft golden colour. These, she says, never. They bite the belly. But a few steps further, she shows you others. Brown, with curled edges and fine gills underneath. These? Yes. Cook them. Not raw. She doesn't smile, but her eyes meet yours. She's watching you learn. Your fingers are stiff, but you try to copy her. You scrape at the moss near a fallen log and find something. Tiny, bulbous, with fine tendrils. You hold it up. She examines it, shakes her head gently. Too small? Wait another moon. You nod, embarrassed but determined. The forest floor is a book written in shapes and smells. You try to read it. Hazel branches sway above you, their nuts still clinging to the ends. One of the older women cracks a few and hands you one. You taste the inside, nutty, oily, rich. A treasure. Together you collect what remains. Some are already hollow, eaten by insects or squirrels, but some are perfect. You place them in your basket with care, as if they were gold. Later someone finds wild onions. You smell them before you see them, sharp, bright, like crushed green life. You help dig them out, dirt caked beneath your nails. Their white bulbs are thin, their roots fragile, but they taste like warmth when roasted. Into the basket they go. As the sun rises higher, the light filters in at a new angle, casting long shadows between the trunks. The women stop now and then to rest or to taste something new, sap from a tree, the bark from a twig. You taste too under their watchful eyes. Some are bitter, some sting the tongue, some surprise you with sweetness. Every step you take teaches you something. What to touch, what to avoid, what to eat, what to leave. You pass the husk of a tree where bees once lived. You're told not to touch it. If the hive returns, we wait. We never take too much. A rule, a truth. The forest gives, but only if you ask with care. Your basket is heavier now. Not full, but not empty either. Inside are your contributions, a small handful of wild onions, some bark, 2 bitter berries for dye, and 6 hazelnuts still in their shell. You cradle it with both hands, proud, though your arms are sore and your fingers cold. The older girl beside you smiles slightly when she sees what you've collected. Good, she says. One word, it's enough. The path back is slower. The sun is beginning to dip. The frost returns to the air. But inside your chest is something warmer than fire. The knowledge that today you helped. Today you gave something back to the tribe. And as the trees part and the cave comes into view again, the smoke curling lazily from the fire pit, you hold your basket close. You've learned to gather, and that means, in a small but important way, you belong. Children at play, but really learning. The gathering party returns to the camp with baskets half full, hands chilled and legs scratched from the underbrush. But no one complains. As the older women sort through the morning's finds, laying out roots, herbs, bark, and mushrooms, you and the other children drift toward the open patch of ground near the cave mouth. The sun now hangs higher in the sky, warming the stone and dirt just enough to bring some life back into your fingers. One of the boys pulls out the ball, a crude sphere made from dried animal bladder, stuffed with moss and tied with sinew. It's lopsided and stained with age, but to you it's as precious as any carved weapon or tool. Someone calls out, and the game begins. You chase the ball across the open space, laughing breathlessly, your limbs stiff but loosening with movement. You dodge and lunge, the mossy ground crunching beneath your feet. Your stomach still feels the ache of hunger, but it fades with every sprint. A girl tosses the ball high into the air. You jump, arms stretched, and catch it awkwardly against your chest. Cheers erupt from the others. You grin, then quickly spin and throw it across the circle. The play continues without rules, without teams, without winners, and yet there is purpose. Every motion is training. You don't think about it much, you don't have to, but your arms learn how to throw, stronger, straighter, more accurate. Your fingers learn to grip and release. Your eyes sharpen, tracking the blur of the ball in flight. Your legs grow faster, your reactions quicker. What looks like chaos is actually preparation. The older children take it further. One grabs a long stick and pretends it's a spear. Another crouches behind a boulder and whispers like he's stalking prey. Soon a small group breaks off into a mock hunt, one pretending to be an animal, the others fanning out to trap an ambush. You follow them. One girl, a year older than you, assigns roles with a gesture. You're told to circle wide, pretending to flush the deer toward the others. You creep through the tall grass, keeping low. You step quietly, just as you watch the real hunters do. Your heart pounds, not with fear, but with focus. You let out a sudden shout and spring forward. The deer, a laughing boy, bolts from the grass, and the others pounce, tackling him gently but firmly. Everyone tumbles into a heap of laughter and tangled limbs. The kill is met with cheer and mimicry. One of the boys beats his chest. Another pretends to offer thanks to the spirit of the animal. These are not just games. These are echoes of rituals they've seen around the fire. You play at adulthood before it arrives, trying on the weight of responsibility like a child slipping into a parent's oversized cloak. Later, you gather again in a circle, this time pretending to prepare the food. A flat stone becomes the fire. Twigs are the cooking sticks. Someone lays leaves in rows and names them as if they were real ingredients. Rabbit, onion, tuber. You nod seriously, your hands miming the slicing and stirring. From the outside, an adult might see only silliness, mud-smeared faces, wild gestures and giggling. But you know better. You're rehearsing life. Everything has a place, a meaning. The little ones mimic you. A toddler waddles across the dirt, clutching a pine cone like a tool. Another babbles a story in fragments of your tongue, copying the cadence of the elders' tales. The line between play and ritual blurs. You fall, get up, fall again. Dirt stains your knees. Your fingers are scraped, your elbows bruised. But you don't stop. No one stops. This is the only way to learn. Somewhere nearby, a raven croaks. A girl looks up and mimics its call perfectly. Others join in. You add your own cry. The forest answers with wind in the trees. For a moment all your voices blend with the land, part of it, not apart from it. Eventually the ball is forgotten, lying in the dust, and the circle drifts apart. The older children begin helping with firewood. The younger ones climb onto laps and doze in the warmth of fur. But the lessons remain, stitched into your body like invisible threads. Tomorrow you will learn again, through story, through failure, through laughter and bruises. And someday, when real hunger comes and real danger follows, you will know what to do. Because play was never just play, it was practice. The midday rest. The sun stands at its highest point directly above the ridge, casting long, thin shadows down the rocky slope, but you barely feel its warmth. The cold wind cuts through the valley like a blade, bending the grass, stirring the smoke that drifts from the fire pit. Even in daylight, the Ice Age never truly lets go. But for now, the world slows down. The morning's work, gathering, carving, hunting, watching, has been done. The tribe gathers close again, forming a loose circle around the central fire. There is no call to rest, no leader who orders silence. It just happens, as if all hearts beat to the same rhythm. Your legs ache, your hands are scratched, and your belly hums with hunger again, though the small pieces of roasted rabbit from earlier helped. You don't mind the hunger. It's familiar now, a companion more than a complaint. Someone shifts beside you, and you feel the brush of fur on your cheek. It's your mother. She opens her arm, and without needing to ask, you curl beneath her thick hide blanket, pressing your body close to hers. The warmth of her skin, the scent of smoke in her hair, the weight of her breath. It all makes your body relax instantly. You don't speak. You don't need to. Around you, the camp begins to settle. An old man with white hair leans against the cave wall, his eyes fluttering shut. His walking stick rests across his knees, hands folded gently over it. Your aunt nurses a crying baby, rocking slowly, murmuring low sounds that have no meaning but bring calm nonetheless. The baby's cries fade into soft sucking and then sleep. A few children lie nearby, covered in shed fur, their chests rising and falling in quiet rhythm. A boy yawns noisily and kicks off his hide before curling back into a ball. No one scolds him. Across the fire, your uncle is already snoring, softly like a bear dreaming in winter. His head rests against a sack of dried grass. You hear his breath, deep and steady, almost like the wind itself. It makes you smile. A woman tosses a few more logs onto the fire, and the flames respond with a hiss and a pop. Sparks rise briefly into the pale afternoon light before vanishing into the sky. The smoke winds its way upward, straight at first, then bending with the breeze. You watch it lazily, eyes heavy, tracing the smoke like a line that connects earth to sky. There is no sound now, except the crackle of flame, the sighs of sleepers, and the gentle rustle of wind through the brush. It is the closest thing to silence you've ever known. You feel safe here. Not because danger is far away, it never truly is, but because in this moment, surrounded by breath and fire and flesh, you are part of something whole. The tribe breathes as one, rests as one. Like wolves in a den, you gather warmth from each other, strength from closeness. Your mother shifts slightly and tugs the hide higher around your shoulders. You feel her hand, rough from work but careful as always, smoothing your hair. You don't open your eyes, you don't need to. You're more awake to this stillness than to anything else. Even your thoughts seem to hush. No one talks about what has been done. No one worries aloud about what must still come. Not now. For this short time between the toil of morning and the push of afternoon, you're allowed to simply exist. You are alive. You are here. That is enough. Somewhere high above, a bird cries out. A raven, maybe. Its call echoes off the rocks and fades into the trees. A few people glance up, but no one moves. The fire crackles again. A baby whimpers in its sleep. The fur beneath you shifts as your mother's chest rises and falls. You match your breathing to hers, slowly, deeply. This is peace. Not the peace of safety, for you know such a thing doesn't last. Not the peace of comfort, because your bones still feel the cold, your feet still ache. But a deeper peace, the kind that comes when everyone around you shares the same breath, the same stillness. Eventually your eyes close completely. You don't sleep, not really, but you drift, somewhere between dream and waking. The world softens, time blurs. And in that space, as the fire burns low and the tribe lies quiet, you feel something you can't quite name. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's belonging. Maybe it's the soft, silent beating of the tribe's heart pulsing around you like a lullaby. Afternoon crafts and clothing. The warmth of the midday rest fades as the sun tilts westward. The wind picks up again, whistling softly through the cracks in the stone and rustling the bare branches beyond the cave. Slowly the tribe stirs back to life. One by one the sleepers stretch, yawn, and return to their tasks. There is no bell, no voice calling to rise. Only the rhythm of the day, ancient and unspoken. Your mother sits upright now, wrapped in a thick hide, a curved bone needle in her hand. Around her, her sisters are already at work. They sit in a rough circle near the fire, hunched over their stitching, heads bowed in quiet concentration. Their fingers move with calm precision, threading sinew through thick leather as if sewing skin was as natural as breathing. You're allowed to join them today, not to stitch, not yet, but to help. You sit cross-legged beside your mother. She hands you a piece of hide, soft on one side, rough on the other. "Hold it flat," she says without looking up. Her voice is steady, focused. You place your hands carefully at the corners, keeping the skin taut as she drives the needle through the edge. The needle is carved from bone, polished smooth but still sharp. The thread is sinew, animal tendon, dried, stretched and softened. You've seen the whole process. The stripping, the soaking, the rolling into cords. Nothing is wasted in your world. Every part of the animal serves a purpose. The women work in silence, broken only by the occasional murmur or hum. The fire pops softly. Smoke drifts lazily toward the roof of the cave. A baby coos in the background. These are the sounds of work, of care. You watch closely as your mother pulls the sinew tight, knotting the pieces together. Bit by bit, a tunic begins to take shape. Layers of stitched hide, rough and simple but warm, life-saving. Aunt Nari, your mother's sister, is making a pair of leggings. She tests the fit against her own leg, adjusting the curve around the knee. Another woman, seated on a flat rock, is carefully cutting slits into a large piece of fur, preparing to make a hood for her child. Farther away, near the cave wall, two older girls braid fibers, dried grass and twisted strands of dyed wool. Their fingers fly with speed and rhythm, forming patterns you barely understand. When they finish one bracelet, they start another. Some are plain, some are bright with bits of berry dye or small feathers. They trade them later, or offer them as gifts during the full moon. You feel the sting of envy, just a little. You want to make something too, something your own. Then, your mother reaches beside her and lifts a small pouch. Made of soft leather, roughly the size of your palm, it's simple in shape but stitched with care. Tiny holes line the top where a cord is looped to tie it shut. She holds it out to you. You blink, surprised. "For you," she says, "a place to carry your own finds." You take it with reverence. The leather is warm from her hands. Along the front she has sewn 3 tiny stones, smooth, colourful, the very same ones you found near the river last moon. You remember picking them up one by one, proud of their colours, hiding them in your old satchel. Your heart swells. It's yours. Not borrowed, not handed down, yours. You slip the pouch around your neck. It rests against your chest like a promise. You join the others now in gathering scraps. Small leftover pieces of hide, bits of bark, broken beads made from bone and shell. You don't know yet what you'll make, but it doesn't matter. Your fingers itch to begin. Because here, nothing is just decoration. Every bracelet reminds someone of a season. Every pouch is a container of herbs, of meat, of stories. Every stitch holds warmth. Every cord holds weight. The firelight grows softer as the afternoon deepens. The cave is full of motion, quiet, steady motion. Needles pass through hide. Knives shave edges smooth, fingers braid and twist and tie. And you, once only a watcher, are now part of it. You may not be sewing yet, but your pouch is real. Your stones are sown, your place is known. You belong. The art of making fire, it is time. The sun has begun its slow descent toward the western hills, casting long shadows across the stone floor of the cave. The air grows colder again, and though the fire still burns steadily at the centre of the camp, its warmth feels distant. You pull your fur cloak tighter and wait, hands fidgeting against your knees. The firemaker, an older man with a beard as thick as a wolf's coat, nods once in your direction. That is all it takes. You rise and follow him to the edge of the cave, where the wind can't reach and the light is still strong. Laid out before you is the kit, a fire bow made of bent branch and sinew, a spindle carved from dry wood, a fireboard with a shallow notch, and a wad of dry plant fibre, tinder, gathered and prepared with care. You've watched the process many times. You've seen how the bow turns the spindle, how heat builds through friction, how patience becomes flame. You know what to do. But watching is not doing. Your hands tremble slightly as you kneel before the fireboard. The firemaker does not speak. He sits beside you and lays one hand gently over yours, guiding your grip. He shows you the angle again, how the spindle must be straight, how the bow must glide evenly, not too fast, not too slow. Precision matters. Rhythm matters. He releases your hands. You're on your own now. You loop the spindle in the string of the bow and place the point into the notch. With your left foot braced on the board and your left hand holding the top of the spindle steady, you begin to saw the bow back and forth. The motion is awkward at first. The string slips, the spindle wobbles, the bow jerks. Again, back and forth. The wood squeaks. Your arms begin to burn, sweat prickles at the base of your neck. You grit your teeth trying to keep the motion steady. The fibres on the board begin to darken. The scent of scorched wood drifts upward, sharp and promising. But no smoke, not yet. The firemaker says nothing, he watches. You keep going. Your breath grows ragged, your arms shake. Your knee cramps beneath your weight. You want to stop, to rest, but you don't. You won't. You can't. This is not just about fire. This is about becoming. Faster now, more steady. The spindle spins, the bow sings its rough wooden song. Tiny flecks of dust curl at the edges of the notch. You focus on them, willing them to ignite, to glow. Then, suddenly, you see it. A wisp. A tiny thread of smoke, thin as a spider's silk, curling up from the dark powder in the notch. Your heart leaps. You almost lose your rhythm, but you hold steady. Just a little more, just enough. The smoke thickens, the scent deepens. The firemaker leans in now, nodding. He picks up the tinder bundle and gently tips the glowing ember into it. His hands are calm, reverent, as if holding something sacred. He hands the bundle to you. Your hands shake as you cradle it. You blow gently, soft and steady, just as you've seen others do. The smoke curls higher, hotter. The ember glows brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. And then, flame. A flicker. A breath of light. So small, so fragile, but it's there. The firemaker grunts in approval. He helps you lower the bundle into a prepared nest of twigs and moss. You feed it carefully, adding more fuel. The flame catches. It grows. No one claps. No one cheers. But your father, seated nearby, lifts his eyes and meets yours. His face does not smile, but there is something deeper there. Pride, recognition, belonging. You have made fire. Not borrowed, not helped. Yours. You sit back, breathless and trembling, but filled with something you've never quite felt before. A quiet power. Not strength of muscle or speed of foot, but the power to create, to bring light where there was none. The others glance at the new flame. Some nod. One of the older women brings a pot of broth to warm above it. It is already being used, already becoming part of the life of the camp. And you, for the first time, know what it means. You did this. You brought heat to cold, flame to dark. And now, when the wind howls and the night creeps in, you will not just lie beneath the hides for warmth. You will be one of those who keeps the fire alive. Children's daily lives. There is no bell that rings, no carved slate or wax tablet. No one ever says, "Now begins the lesson," and yet every hour of your day is filled with learning. You wake with the tribe, eat when food allows, and sleep when darkness blankets the land, but in between, your world is a classroom without walls. There are no teachers, not as you will one day understand the word, but everyone teaches, and everything teaches. You learn not from lectures, but from living. You follow the older children as they venture down to the lower rocks, where lizards sun themselves in patches of light. Their tiny bodies flash green and brown against the stone. The trick is to move slowly, quietly, then leap. You miss, again and again, until at last your hand closes over something alive and wriggling. The older girl beside you grins, not mocking but proud. She shows you how to hold it gently, how to let it go without harm. Another lesson, learned by doing. Later you help build a small shelter with sticks and grasses, only a play structure really, no taller than your waist. But the act of doing it, choosing the right branches, bending them without breaking, tying the grasses in place with twisted cords, is a seed planted in your hands. One day, when you're older and the tribe must move, you will help build real shelters. You won't need instruction. You will already know. You don't know the names of shapes or numbers, but you understand distance. You know how far you can throw a stone, how many breaths it takes to run to the water and back. You don't count in words, you count in actions. Sometimes you and your friends draw on the cave walls, pictures made with charcoal, clay, and crushed berry paste. You draw animals with curved horns and long legs. You draw people with spears and fire. You don't call it art, you don't call it anything. You just do it, because something inside you wants to. The adults glance at your drawings now and then. Some shake their heads, some smile. One day someone will draw something worth keeping, something the elders say must stay. When that happens, it will be traced over with ochre and sealed with ash, preserved for the next generation. Maybe it will be yours. You watch the adults work. You watch how one woman weaves a net from dried reeds, her fingers moving in a pattern too fast for your eyes to follow. You try to copy her later with strands of grass. Your knots slip apart, but you try again and again. Another boy sits by the river, stacking stones into a line. He's mimicking the way the men trap fish, blocking part of the current with a low wall so the fish are forced into shallow pools. You help him, even though there are no fish today. The current is too slow, but your minds are working, solving problems before they even appear. When a baby cries, a girl barely older than you lifts it and rocks it gently, copying the exact motion she's seen from her mother. She hums the same soft tune. The baby calms, and so another skill is passed on, without words, without ceremony. Even the games you play hold hidden knowledge. When you hide behind rocks and stalk your friends in pretend hunts, you're learning how to move without being seen. When you throw pine cones at a mark on a tree, you're learning aim, force, and instinct. When you pretend to be the firekeeper or the storyteller or the healer, you're rehearsing the lives you might someday live. Every day brings something new. A cut on your knee teaches how to clean wounds. A burnt fingertip teaches caution near flame. A heavy basket teaches how to balance weight on your back. You're surrounded by knowledge, but none of it comes from pages. It comes from the land, from those who came before you, from failure, from repetition, from play. And slowly, without realizing it, you're becoming more than a child. You're becoming part of the memory of your people, a living strand in a braid that stretches back farther than any story you've heard around the fire. So no, there is no school, no books, no desks or black stones with symbols etched in them. But there is learning deep and constant, and you are never not learning. the evening gatherings. As the sun sinks low behind the distant cliffs, its last light paints the sky in smears of gold and crimson. The shadows stretch long across the ground. The cold begins to creep in again, slowly but with certainty. The warmth of the day fades, and with it the scattered movements of the tribe begin to converge. One by one people return. From the trees the hunters appear with spears in hand and fresh mud on their feet. From the stream the gatherers arrive with bundles of herbs and dripping hands. The toolmaker brushes stone dust from his lap. The firekeeper adds one more log to the central blaze, feeding its growing hunger as the darkness deepens. The camp begins to circle itself, like wolves curling inward. You find your place near the edge of the firelight next to your older brother. He is warm, and his shoulder presses into yours as you settle under a shared hide. Others crowd close too, mothers with babies, elders wrapped in thick furs, children leaning into one another like stones in a cairn. The fire becomes the heart of the tribe again. Its glow paints everyone in orange and gold. Sparks float upward like stars being born. The smoke carries the scent of pine, meat and ash. It curls around your nose, fills your lungs, becomes part of the moment. Tonight there is food. One of the hunters has brought back a hare, and it roasts now on a stick above the flames. You hear the sizzle of fat, see the way the skin blisters and turns brown. A woman cracks open nuts with a stone and passes them around in a woven basket. Another stirs a pot of root broth, the steam rising in small clouds. It is not a feast, but it is enough. Hands pass food from one to another. Nothing is hoarded. Nothing is wasted. You take your share, one piece of meat, a few nuts, and eat slowly, carefully. You're hungry, but you're also aware. This food came at a cost. It came from the land, from effort, from risk. It must be respected. As bellies begin to fill and the fire grows steady, the night becomes quiet in a different way. Not silent, but attentive. Someone begins to speak. He is one of the elders, his hair silver, his voice rough with age and smoke. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, eyes gleaming with firelight, and without needing to announce himself, he begins a story. You've heard this one before, how the world began when the mountains first sang, how the wind carved the valleys with its breath, how the rivers were born from the tears of the sky. But it doesn't matter. You listen as if hearing it for the first time. His voice rises and falls with rhythm and weight. He gestures with wide arms, pantomimes the mountain's song, the sun's laughter, the birth of fire from stone. Around the fire, faces turn toward him. Even the smallest children sit still, eyes wide, breath held. The world fades. There is only his voice and the flame and the story. You feel the song of the mountains echo inside your chest. You imagine the first people waking beneath the stars just like you did this morning. You picture them shaping the world with their hands and voices, calling animals into being with songs and dances. Beside you, your brother whispers something you don't catch, but you smile anyway. His fingers nudge yours beneath the fur. A shared joke, a moment. The elder finishes his tale with a hush. There is no applause, only stillness. Then another voice begins, a woman this time, telling of a hunt of a bear that stalked the camp long ago, and how they tricked it with smoke and song. Laughter ripples through the group. Someone mimics the bear's growl, and the children squeal with delight. One story leads to another. A tale of love, a warning about spirits in the trees, a memory of a long winter, survived only by sharing the last of the dried meat. Some stories are old, some are new, but all of them matter. They carry the past, they shape the future. You sit there, belly warm, eyes reflecting fire, heart full of wonder. Around you the tribe breathes in unison. No walls, no rooms, just people and fire and stories. And in this moment, you understand something without needing to say it. The fire keeps the cold away, but the stories, they keep the darkness from swallowing you whole. The morning rituals. The first light hasn't yet reached the cave walls when the camp begins to stir. The fire, now only glowing embers, still breathes a soft warmth. Smoke trails upward in slow, twisting ribbons. All around you, people begin to move, quietly, without need for words. It is not a hurried time. It is a sacred one. The morning rituals begin. There are no drums, no chanted orders, no carved stone to mark the rite. But still, every movement is precise, intentional, as if all in the tribe have the rhythm of this moment etched into their bones. You rise with the others, rubbing sleep from your eyes with the back of your hand. Your feet touch the cold stone floor. It bites at your skin, reminding you that the night has not fully left. You draw your fur wrap tighter and glance toward the cave entrance. The horizon is just beginning to pale. You follow your mother and a few others to the edge of the clearing where a small altar stands, if it can be called that. It is a circle of stones, not tall or grand, filled with objects that mean everything and nothing to those who pass. Smooth bones, ash, feathers, bits of coloured stone, a sacred heap shaped not by a god, but by the quiet devotion of generations. Each morning the altar receives its gifts. Your mother kneels first. She presses her hand into the dirt beside the circle, closes her eyes and whispers something low and breathy. The words are not ones you know. They're old, older than memory, passed from grandmother to mother to daughter. She finishes by laying a piece of bark across the stones. She rises, then steps away. Now it is your turn. You kneel where she knelt, your heart thudding quietly. In your hand is a stone, small, round and dull grey. You found it 3 days ago near the stream. It is not rare or beautiful, but it is yours. You hold it to your chest for a moment, then place it carefully on the altar beside the bones of a hare. Your lips move silently, though you are not sure what to say. You think the thoughts instead. Thank you for warmth. Thank you for food. Thank you for another day. Then you step back. Others make their offerings, each in their own way. One man sprinkles ashes in a spiral across the path, muttering softly with each step. A child ties a scrap of sinew to a branch and hangs it above the altar, watching it sway gently in the wind. An elder crouches beside the fire and stirs the embers with a carved stick, then dips her fingers in the ashes and presses them to her forehead, to her lips, and finally to her chest. It is not one ritual, it is many, but they all carry the same purpose: to greet the day with humility, with thanks, and with the hope that the land will be kind. You never asked who invented these practices. They feel older than questions. You've seen people weep during these moments, especially when food is scarce or someone is missing. You've also seen joy in them, when the fire flares bright and the tribe is strong. The rituals do not demand emotion, but they hold space for it. Your brother once asked if the mountain spirits truly listen. Your uncle replied, "They listen as much as you speak from the heart, that was enough." Sometimes the firekeeper scatters herbs over the coals, and the smoke turns sweet and strange. Sometimes someone sings, a low, wordless tune that coils through the morning air like mist. Today, there is only the crackle of kindling, the wind rustling dry leaves, and the shuffling of bare feet on stone. You feel calm, not because the world is safe, far from it, but because these rituals remind you that you are not alone in facing it. You're part of something, a circle, a rhythm, a breath passed down from countless mornings before. As the sky brightens and the fire returns to life, the tribe begins to prepare for the day's real work. Hunting, gathering, teaching, surviving, but they do so with the quiet strength given by ritual. The altar remains behind, not guarded, not fenced, just waiting, a space that holds all your fears, hopes, and gratitude without judgment. You glance back once before turning toward the woods. The stone you placed is still there. A small thing, a silent thing, but it carries your voice into the rising light. Trading and social network, the air feels different today, charged, expectant. Even before the visitors appear, you sense that something unusual is about to happen. The firekeeper adds extra logs to the hearth. The elders sit upright, brushing dust from their shoulders and smoothing their furs. Your mother checks the placement of the items by the gathering stone. Bundles of dried herbs, a rolled deer hide, a string of beads carved from bone and bark. Then, at last, they arrive. 2 men, tall and lean, step out from the trees at the edge of the camp. Their hair is worn in braids you don't recognize. Their clothing is similar to yours, but the cuts are slightly different. The stitching unfamiliar. Each carries a pack made from bark and hide, and their legs are streaked with dried mud. They have walked far. Behind them, a boy about your age steps cautiously into view, his eyes scanning your camp. He stays close to the men, clutching something wrapped in cloth. Your tribe does not run forward. There is no shouting. This is not a reunion. It is something older, more careful. A dance between strangers and kin, between risk and trust. The firekeeper nods. One of the visitors raises his hand in greeting and places a flat stone at the camp's edge, a signal of peace. Only then do your people rise. Slowly, a circle begins to form near the fire. The visitors are offered water first, and strips of dried meat. They accept without speaking much. One of the men places a bundle on the ground and unties it. Inside, several sharp pieces of obsidian glinting like ice. Black and dangerous, they catch the light in a way that makes you stare. You've only ever seen firestone like that once, and only from a distance. The second man opens a pouch and pours out a handful of smooth, shimmering shells. They're unlike anything from your stream, pink, white and gold, spiraled and polished by the sea. Gasps ripple through the children. Even the elders murmur with interest. Your uncle steps forward now. He offers a deer hide in return, thick and carefully cured. Then he adds a string of dried berries and a small pouch of bitter root powder used for illness. No words are spoken, not yet. They weigh each other's offerings with their eyes, with their silences. Then, finally, one of the visiting men nods. The exchange begins. Not everything is traded at once. Items are picked up, examined, handed back. Heads tilt in hesitation. One bead is added, one root removed. It is a language made of gesture, weight, and trust. A single mistake could cause offense. A single misjudgment could be remembered for seasons. You sit quietly, knees pulled to your chest, watching everything. The visiting boy catches your eye. He steps forward shyly and holds something out. A tooth, smooth and yellowed, pierced so it can hang from a cord. A fox's tooth. You recognize the curve immediately. You hesitate. Then you step forward and take it with both hands as you've been taught. You nod in thanks, not daring to speak. You don't have anything ready to give him in return, but shakes his head. This, it seems, is not trade. It is gift. You look at him again, and he gives a small crooked smile. Later, your mother will help you tie the tooth to a leather cord and place it around your neck. You will wear it with pride, not just for what it is, but for what it means, that you are part of this web, this quiet dance of movement and meaning between peoples. The trading continues for the better part of the afternoon. More goods are exchanged, woven baskets, bundles of dried moss for bedding, antler points, medicinal bark. Stories are shared, sometimes through words, sometimes through mimicry and laughter. One man tells a story about crossing paths with a great bear, arms waving and voice rumbling. Your people laugh, and someone else offers a tale in return. By the end, there is food passed between groups, and a warmth that didn't exist at the start. When the visitors leave, they do so slowly, nodding their thanks, packs now heavier with your tribe's offerings. The boy turns and waves once, quickly. You raise your hand in return. Long after they've disappeared into the trees, you're still touching the foxtooth at your chest. It isn't just a decoration. It's a marker, a reminder that you're not alone in the world, that other camps exist, other people, other children. And that sometimes the world becomes smaller through the simple act of offering something and receiving something in return. These spiritual life and rituals. There is a place above the camp, beyond the highest ridge, where the wind never sleeps and the stones seem older than the stars. You've only been there a few times. Children are not brought there without reason. It is not a place for games or meals or everyday chatter. It is for something deeper, something invisible, but felt. The sacred place. Today the tribe prepares to go there. Your mother brushes charcoal beneath her eyes. Your uncle wraps a strand of animal sinew around his wrist. The elders don their oldest furs, stiff with age, patterned with stains and ash from ceremonies long past. One woman carries a bundle of dried herbs. Another walks with a hollowed-out gourd filled with dust from the central fire, embers long dead but never forgotten. The sky is grey and the light is dim, but no one hesitates. You walk single file up the narrow path, the ground slick with moss, your feet cold against the rock. No one speaks above a whisper. Even the children sense it. This is not a time for noise. It is a time for connection. Not to each other, but to the world beyond, to the spirits. At the top of the ridge is a circle of stones, not like the altar in the camp. This one is larger, arranged in a spiral pattern that turns inward like a question no one ever fully answers. Some of the stones have carvings, marks made by hands generations before yours were born. Others are stained with red ochre, still visible despite wind and time. You sit outside the circle with the other young ones while the adults step inside. The ceremony begins not with fire or chant, but with silence. An elder raises her hands to the sky, fingers splayed. Her lips move, though no sound escapes. Another adds dried herbs to a shallow bowl and lights them with a coal brought from camp. The smoke rises in thin blue streams, curling around the standing stones like fingers searching for something. Someone begins to hum. Low, slow, it vibrates in your chest more than your ears. Others join in, not melody, not song, but sound, a sound that feels like the earth humming back. A woman steps into the centre and lays down a bone carved with symbols. She turns to the east, then the west, then speaks words in the old language, phrases passed on only during ritual, words that have no meaning to you but seem to open something in the sky. You close your eyes. You feel the cold in your bones, the smoke in your nose, the wind tugging gently at your hair. But you also feel something else, as if the world is listening. No one speaks of gods, not the way you might one day read in books. The spirits here are not men with faces or names. They are the trees, the animals, the thunder and stars and fire. The spirits are the memory of the land and the breath between things. You've been told that your ancestors watch through the wind, speak through the flame, guide the hunter's spear and the healer's hands, that when you cry out in pain or joy they hear, that every fire lit, every animal taken, every seed planted must be done with respect, for nothing is truly yours, everything is shared. And now, in this place, you feel their presence like mist on your skin. A man begins to speak a story. Not one with a beginning and an end, but one made of fragments, of dreams, of visions, of old truths. He speaks of a child born during a storm, of a bird that flew across the sky for 3 nights, of a time when the river ran red with berries and the people danced until morning. The words settle over you like snow. The ceremony continues until the smoke has thinned and the last ember has died. Then, one by one, people step forward to place something in the stone circle. A feather, a carved bead, a pinch of salt, a piece of hair. You watch as your mother places a small pebble worn smooth by the stream. When it is your turn, you step forward nervously. You have nothing grand, just a dried leaf you found this morning, shaped like a perfect hand. You place it carefully at the base of a carved stone and whisper, "Thank you. I see you. I will listen." No one tells you what the ritual means, but somehow you already know. It is about remembering, about balance, about the unseen thread that ties you to the land, the sky, the fire, and to those who came before and those who will come after. Healthcare and medicine. It begins with a cough. Not yours, but your cousin's, a deep crackling sound that won't stop. It started last night, soft and distant, but now it echoes through the cave, harsh and dry. She's only a few seasons old, and her body is small, her breath shallow. Your aunt holds her close, rocking slowly back and forth, eyes filled with worry, lips pressed to her daughter's temple. You do not have a healer in the way later people will. No stone hut with herbs in jars, no metal tools, no written scrolls. But you have something just as powerful, someone who knows the rhythms of the body, the memories of plants, and the signs in the eyes, skin, and breath. The healer comes without being called. She's not the loudest in the tribe. She's not young, not old. She walks with quiet confidence, carrying a pouch of dried roots, moss, and powdered clay tied to her hip. Around her neck hang teeth, carved bone, and a feather blackened with soot. You watch as she kneels beside your cousin, places the back of her hand on the girl's forehead, then listens, not just with ears, but with the whole of her body. The healer doesn't speak much, she hums. A sound low and constant, like wind through dry grass. From her pouch she pulls things with practiced hands, crushed bark, a piece of amber soaked in fat, thin strips of willow. She chews one of the roots herself, spits the juice into a bowl and mixes it with warm water and ash. Your cousin is made to drink. She coughs again, but swallows. A salve of green clay and crushed pine needles is rubbed on her chest. Then she sleeps, and the healer stays. Because healing is not just what you give, it's what you wait through. Nearby, a man limps into the circle. His leg is bleeding, cut on a sharp stone while climbing for eggs. The healer signals for him to sit. You watch her clean the wound with hot water poured from a skin pouch, then pack it with moss. She binds it tightly with a long strip of rabbit hide. No one flinches at the sight of blood. No one cries out. Pain is not ignored, but it is never dramatized. It is met with dignity. You remember when you were burned by a coal last winter? Your hand blistered and it hurt for many days. The healer wrapped it in wet leaves and sang while you sat beside her. You asked if she was magic. She only smiled and said, "I listen." That is what healing is. Listening to the body, to the wind, to the way your breath changes before the sickness comes. The healer walks through camp not with power but with awareness. She notices things. She touches foreheads, checks joints, watches how people sleep, how they move. Not all wounds can be healed, not all lives are saved. Sometimes someone slips into the dark despite all efforts. But the healer is there for that too, to close the eyes, to smear red clay over the eyelids, to whisper old words into the ear as the spirit leaves the flesh. Today, your cousin begins to sleep more deeply. Her breathing slows, the cough quiets. The healer nods, satisfied but not done. She leaves behind a pouch of dry herbs to be boiled if the cough returns. She taps your aunt on the shoulder, gently but firmly, reminding her, "Rest, you carry more than your child." Later you follow the healer into the woods. She shows you plants, not with long explanations, but with gesture and taste. This one for fever, that one for bleeding. This root to dull pain, but never too much or the soul may wander. She places each leaf into your palm. She lets you chew and spit. She teaches you through your own senses. Not everyone is meant to heal, but everyone must learn a little. Because in your world, danger hides in silence, in a thorn, a fever, a careless cut, and medicine must be known before the moment it is needed. The healer never calls herself wise, but you know better. She carries not just herbs, but the memory of survival. Her knowledge stretches beyond what can be seen. She is not praised like a hunter, but she saves lives like one. And when the cough returns in another child, or a wound begins to rot, or the river floods and brings illness with it, she will be ready. Because that is what she does. She listens. And because of her, your people live another day. The storyteller's hour, night has fully claimed the sky. The stars glitter above the cave mouth, millions of them, cold and ancient. You lie curled in a fur, your body still warm from the last meal, your eyes heavy with the weight of the day. But sleep does not come yet, because there is one more ritual, one more moment the day has been waiting for. The storyteller is about to begin. He is not the oldest in the camp, nor the strongest, nor the loudest. But when he speaks, even the wind seems to pause. His voice carries not just words, but memory. The kind of memory that predates you, your parents, and perhaps even fire itself. He sits near the flame, legs crossed, the light flickering across his lined face. His eyes are bright with something deep, something almost impossible to name. Children gather close, adults too, though they pretend to sit at the edges just to warm their hands. But they are here for him. Everyone is. The fire crackles. He begins, not with speech but with silence, a long one. He lets it stretch until even the smallest child is still. Then he hums, a low note that rises and falls like distant thunder. It is a sound from the belly, not the throat. You've heard it before many times, but it always feels different, new, alive. Then the words come. There was a time, he says, when the sun did not rise. The tale is familiar. You've heard it on many nights in many seasons, but it changes with each telling. New details, new warnings, new laughter. The core remains, the story of the sky being stolen by a jealous spirit, the long darkness that followed, and the brave child who climbed the mountain to set the sun free. But it's not just what he says, it's how. He shifts his voice when speaking as the mountain. He hunches low when he becomes the frightened animals. He leaps up, arms wide, when he becomes the child lighting the sky with stolen flame. His body becomes the story. His voice paints it into the air. You forget your fur, your chill, your yawns. You're inside the story now. Beside you, a girl mouths the words as they're told. She knows them well. Someday she might be the one to tell them. That is how the tradition lives. Not in ink, not in stone, but in sound and breath and time. The fire flares with a gust of wind, and the storyteller does not miss a beat. He looks into the flame and says, "And when the sun returned, it burned so brightly that even the stars hid in fear." A boy gasps softly, others giggle. Then the tale shifts. He tells of a hunt that went wrong, of a foolish boy who followed the wrong trail and walked in circles for days, until a bear led him home. You laugh with the others, even though you know the bear is a spirit, not a beast. The point is not the truth of the event, but the truth behind it. Pay attention. Learn the land. Listen to your instincts. He moves on. A whisper of love, a warning about fire spirits, a memory of a woman who walked so far in her grief that the mountain took her in and never gave her back. Some stories are lessons. Some are songs. Some are prayers, wrapped in rhythm and metaphor. Some are just to remind you that laughter is part of survival too. He ends not with a final line, but a question. Do you know, he asks, what the sky sang when the first child opened their eyes? You don't. But the silence that follows makes it feel like maybe you will, if you listen hard enough. The fire has burned low. The adults begin to rise, murmuring thanks, stretching tired limbs. Children are gathered into arms, furs are rearranged. A few still linger, unwilling to let the spell end. You look once more at the storyteller as he sips from a wooden bowl. His eyes catch yours. And he smiles, not grand, not mysterious, just warm, like the end of a story. You lie down, pulling the fur over your shoulders. The stars remain, the cold deepens, but inside something is glowing. Because the world, you realize, is made not only of stone and wind and bone, but of stories. And tonight, one of them now lives inside you. Seasonal preparations. The air smells different. Sharper, drier. The birds are quieter now, the insects less bold. In the distance, the grasses have begun to yellow, and the trees, those that still cling to leaves, rustle with a more brittle sound. Even without counting moons, the tribe knows the season is turning. It is time to prepare. The changes are subtle, but your body senses them just as your elders do. Your fingers ache more in the mornings. The wind that once felt playful now bites at your skin. Food is still found, but less easily. Roots are deeper, berries are fewer. The animals seem more cautious, their tracks harder to follow. Today, everyone works. There is no council, no ceremony. The knowledge of what must be done is carried in every shoulder, every hand. Winter is not an event, it is a tide that rises slowly, unstoppable and full of hunger. You are sent to help your mother dry meat near the fire. Thin strips of rabbit and fish hang from wooden racks, smoke curling around them. You fan the flames gently, making sure the meat doesn't cook too quickly. It must dry, not burn. This will be food for the weeks when nothing moves, when snow buries the trails, and wind howls like a predator through the cave mouth. Your brother and uncle return with armfuls of firewood, thick branches snapped clean, still wet with the scent of the forest. Others dig pits lined with clay to store roots and tubers. A girl weaves a tight basket from reeds, testing it for leaks with water before it's filled with crushed nuts and sealed with waxy leaves. The pace of life quickens. No one complains, no one dawdles. There is an unspoken rule in the air. If you do not help now, you may not eat later. You help sort through dried herbs, some for food, others for illness. The healer watches as you group them. Fever leaf here, wild mint there, bitter root to the side. She nods in quiet approval. These will be steeped into broths or chewed raw when coughs and fever rise with the frost. Later, you're taught how to wrap furs tighter, how to patch old cloaks with sinew thread, how to make sure the sleeping skins won't tear in the night. You've outgrown yours, so your aunt is sewing a new one. It smells of deer and smoke and warmth. She lets you stitch one corner yourself, crooked but strong. Every action now holds purpose. Nothing is wasted. A cracked pot becomes a scoop. A dull spearhead is turned into a scraping tool. Even ashes are saved to mix with lard for waterproofing baskets. And still, it's not enough. The elders remember winters where the river froze solid, where the sky stayed grey for weeks. Stories are told of hunger so deep that even tree bark was chewed, of wolves howling in circles around camps, testing the edges of firelight. These tales are not just for fear, they are warnings, they're guides. You listen carefully. At night you lie beneath your furs and feel the tension in the air. Everyone is more alert. Even the laughter feels different, shorter, quieter, as if winter might hear it and come faster. One morning frost dusts the rocks outside the cave. No one gasps, no one points, but the pace doubles. Your father teaches you how to spot dead branches that snap clean, not bend. Your cousin shows you how to pack snow against the sides of a shelter to trap warmth. You learn how to walk on ice without falling, how to keep your fingers moving when they begin to sting, how to breathe slow when the wind steals the air from your lungs. There is beauty in this season too. Crisp skies, animal tracks like stories etched in snow, the deep stillness of a world preparing to sleep. But you do not trust it. You respect it. Because winter does not care if you're young or old, good or bad. It only asks one question. Were you ready? And so you keep working. You gather, sew, repair, dry, stack, and bind. Every task is a promise to the future. And as you hang the last strip of smoked meat near the fire, you feel something tighten in your chest. Not fear, not exactly, more like certainty. The cold is coming, but so are you. The hunters return. You hear them before you see them. Distant footsteps. The rhythm of tired bodies moving through undergrowth, the creak of leather straps, the faint clatter of bone tools. A hawk cries overhead, as if announcing their arrival to the forest. Then the shapes appear, emerging from the tree line like ghosts returning from the edge of the world. The hunters are home! The entire camp shifts when they appear. Children stop playing. The elders lean forward. The firekeeper adds wood to the flame as if the blaze itself should welcome them. You stand on your toes trying to see between shoulders. Who has returned? Who walks in front? Are they carrying anything? Your father is there, his gait slower than usual, a streak of dried blood across his cheek. His eyes meet yours, and he gives a small nod. Relief floods through you. Others follow, some limping. One man with his arm tied in a sling of fur. One woman dragging a sled behind her, its contents hidden beneath a stretched hide. No one rushes forward. Not yet. The hunters move as one, silent, solemn, heads high. This is a moment of honor, not noise. They enter the camp like returning warriors, though they do not boast. They simply survived. The lead hunter steps forward and lifts the hide from the sled. A gasp breaks the stillness. A deer, young, strong, cleanly killed. Its body is still warm. Blood seeps slowly into the earth. It is a gift. Not just meat, not just food, but the difference between hunger and strength, between despair and hope. Children are sent to fetch water. Fire is stoked. Knives are drawn, stone, flint sharpened with bone. The hunters do not rest yet. The work is only halfway done. Your father sits and begins to strip the hide with long practice strokes. Your cousin cuts fat from the belly, placing it carefully in a carved wooden bowl. The meat will be dried, boiled, and smoked, the organs divided, the bones saved for tools, needles, and fish hooks. The hide will become clothing, bags, thread. Nothing is wasted, nothing ever is. You are allowed to help. You carry a rib to the fire circle. Blood trickles down your fingers, but you don't flinch. You've learned by now, this is what it means to live, to take, to give thanks. The hunters are offered broth and flat cakes. Someone brings them warm cloaks. No one asks for details right away. That will come later, around the fire, when bellies are full and the night presses in. Later you sit close as the hunters speak. The story is told in fragments. They followed tracks for 2 days, lost one in the rain, slept in trees to avoid wild dogs, found the deer near a river bend, cornered it between rocks, brought it down with a single spear to the lung, but the river nearly swept one man away. Another fell and tore his shoulder. You listen with wide eyes. They do not exaggerate, they do not minimize. The story is not told to entertain, it is told so that it will be remembered. What path was safe? Where the prey travelled? What dangers hid in the underbrush? These are not just tales, they are maps. Your brother asks if the deer cried out. Your father shakes his head. It looked at me, he says quietly, and then it was over. You don't ask more. Because you know, the hunter does not only fight the animal, he also carries its death, and he must carry it with respect. When the last bone has been cleaned and the fire is low, the tribe gathers for one final act. A small portion of the deer's meat is placed on the edge of the fire pit, given to the flames, an offering, a thank you, a promise that nothing was taken without giving something in return. Your father places his hand on your shoulder. Next time, he says, you'll come. You swallow hard, not out of fear, not quite, but from understanding. The world is full of hunger, and only those who walk far, watch closely, and take carefully will eat. Tonight the camp is warm, not just from fire, but from the presence of those who left and returned. The hunters have come back. And because of that, so will the sun tomorrow. The apprentice system. You're no longer just a child. You feel it in the way the others look at you now, not with amusement, but with expectation. You carry more than water these days. You remember things, and you're starting to do them too. That is how it begins. Not with a ceremony, not with a feast, but with someone calling your name and giving you a task you've never done alone. Today the toolmaker gestures you over. He says little, as always. Words are not his way, but he hands you a piece of flint and points to a smooth rock. Then he nods once. That is the test. You kneel beside him, heart pounding. The stone feels heavier than it should. You've watched him shape tools 100 times. The angle of the strike, the way he turns the core in his palm, how he chooses antler over stone when finesse is needed. Now it is your hands that must remember. You raise the rock, you strike. Too hard. The flint splits wrong, a useless shard falling to the ground. You look up ashamed. But he is not angry, he simply hands you another. And you try again. That is the way of apprenticeship. It is not a lecture, it is a rhythm. 1,000 mistakes beside the person who has already made 10,000 more. It is the oldest form of teaching, not school, but shadowing. You watch. You try. You fail. You try again. The hunters train their apprentices by bringing them on short tracks, letting them carry the spear, not to throw it, not yet, but to understand its weight. To walk behind a silent figure and mimic every footstep, to learn the signs of crushed grass, the faint trace of scat, the whisper of wings that signals a startled animal. The firekeeper teaches her apprentice how to breathe, not just how to build a flame, but how to keep it alive through wind, through sleep, through storm, she corrects gently, only when the mistake would mean coldness for the tribe. Even the healer has a shadow now. A girl barely older than you, trusted with the simplest roots and poultices. She learns to mix, to wait, to watch for fever in the cheeks and tightness in the breath. No one becomes a master alone. Even the storyteller had an apprentice once, a boy who sat beside him night after night, learning not just the words, but the spaces between them. That boy is grown now, his own voice deepening around the fire. And today, it is your turn. Your hands grow steadier as you chip the flint again and again. The toolmaker watches, then he grunts, takes the stone from you, turns it, and hands it back. You realize you are holding it wrong, a small change, a big result. By dusk, your fingertips are raw, but one of your pieces is sharp, clean. He holds it to the light, turns it slowly, then places it beside his own tools, not discarded, accepted. Your chest swells. Later. Near the fire, your mother asks what you did today. You shrug, pretending it's nothing, but she sees your bleeding knuckles, she nods. A silent kind of pride. You begin to see apprenticeship everywhere. Children stirring broth beside elders. Teens learning how to carve bone needles under the eye of an aunt. One boy practicing the hunting chant alone near the trees, his voice cracking but determined. This is how the tribe survives. Not through books, not through commands, but through watching, trying, and slowly, very slowly, becoming. And when one day the hunter's hand shakes, or the healer's knees give way, or the firekeeper grows tired, the apprentice will already know what to do. Because they were there. Because they watched. Because someone once handed them a broken piece of flint and said without speaking, begin. You look at your hands, and they still tremble, still ache. But when you look at the toolmaker now, and he nods to a larger stone, your fear melts, You understand. This is no longer a game. You're no longer just a child. You're becoming part of the chain. One day, someone smaller will watch you, and you will hand them their first tool. The night watch. Night has returned. Not the soft kind with stories and laughter. This one is colder, heavier, the kind of night that presses in from all sides, as if the sky itself has weight. Most of the tribe sleeps now, wrapped in furs, huddled in the warmth of each other's bodies. The fire is low, embers glowing like the last breath of a tired spirit. Only a few flames still dance. But you are awake. Tonight, for the first time, you've been chosen to sit the watch. It is not punishment. It is not a child's errand. It is an honor. You sit near the fire with your uncle, a hunter who rarely speaks more than necessary. He sharpens a bone knife as the wind hums through the rocks. You glance toward the cave entrance, black and still, framed by stars. Every few moments you think you hear something. A shift, a crunch, a distant crack. He doesn't flinch. Most nights, he whispers finally, the danger stays away. You nod, but you don't relax. Because he doesn't say all nights. You know why the night watch exists. To keep the fire alive. To guard against animals, wolves, bears, worse. To listen for storms, for falling trees, for the sound of running feet. To be the tribe's eyes and ears while the others dream. It is a quiet job, but never boring. Your ears stretch, reaching into the dark. You hear the faint drip of water from the cave wall, the wheezing snore of your grandfather, the distant yip of a fox, or was it a warning cry? You glance at your uncle again. His face is unreadable. He points to the fire. Feed it. You add a dry branch. The flames rise, licking at the night. You feel them warm your cheeks. You feel their trust settle in your chest. Now you understand why the firekeeper walks so carefully. It's not just wood and spark. It's a living barrier. A signal to whatever watches in the dark. We are awake. A few times, your eyes grow heavy. But your uncle taps your shoulder. Once. No scolding, just a reminder. You shake yourself. Sit straighter. Grip the stick tighter in your hands. Hours pass. You don't measure them in numbers, you measure them in shadows, in how the wind shifts, in how the cold deepens and your toes begin to sting. You hear movement in the trees. This time, your uncle looks up. His hand goes to his spear. Silence. Then, a snort. A wild boar, maybe. Not close, just passing through. You both watch the darkness for a long moment. Then the sound fades. Still, your heart pounds. He finally speaks again. Fear is good, but never let it speak louder than your breath. You try to remember that. Eventually he lays back, eyes half closed. You stay now, he says. Your throat tightens, but you nod. You are alone, truly alone. The fire is yours. The tribe sleeps behind you. And beyond the fire, only stars and shadows. You listen to them both. Every sound, every flicker, every gust of wind becomes your world. You're not scared, not exactly. You're alert, you feel alive in a way that no game or hunt has ever made you feel. You understand now, this is what it means to be trusted. To hold the line while others rest. To keep the darkness at the edge. When dawn finally begins to soften the black sky into blue, your hands are numb, your eyelids heavy, but your soul is burning bright. Your uncle wakes and nods once. You say nothing. You don't need to. The fire is still burning. The tribe is still safe. And you stayed awake. Innovation and discovery. You're crouched near the edge of the riverbank, watching the water twist between rocks like a silver snake. The sun is high, the cold still biting, but gentler now. The air smells of damp earth, of thawing roots and old moss. Around you, the forest holds its breath. And then it happens. You see it. The broken branch floating downstream, curved just so. It snags on a stone, spins and catches something, a leaf. No, more, a clump of feathers. You stare. The stick holds it like a hand. Suddenly your breath quickens. An idea forms. Not in words, not even in thoughts, but in your chest. A spark. You snatch up the branch, examine the curve, the balance. Could it work again? Could it help catch something next time? This is how it always begins. Not with magic, with noticing. You take the stick back to camp. The others don't see much in it. A few glance, then return to scraping hides, twisting cords, tending the fire. But your fingers itch. You show it to your older cousin, the one who makes traps. He shrugs at first, then pauses, looks again, tests the weight. By dusk, you're working together, tying small bones to the tip, adding twine, adjusting balance. You try it in the stream. The first few times, it sinks, floats sideways, useless. But on the fourth try, it catches. A small fish, stunned against a rock, swept into the fork and held there just long enough to grab. Your cousin lets out a sharp laugh, not mocking, amazed. This is how tools are born. The elders say the first blade came from watching a stone crack, the first fire from watching lightning kiss dry grass, the first net from seeing spiderwebs thick with dew and trapped insects. You think maybe today this forked stick might join that lineage, but it's not just tools. Discovery is everywhere. One girl in the tribe found that her paint made from crushed berries lasted longer when mixed with animal fat. Now her drawings on stone don't fade after the rains. The storyteller says her pictures might outlast all of us. The healer once noticed that rubbing a certain leaf on cuts made them itch less. Now it's added to every salve. Your mother once boiled river clay out of boredom and found that when dried it kept roots fresher inside. She made a pot, a real one, not for show, for survival. None of them were trying to invent anything. They were trying to live, and in trying they found more. Discovery in your world isn't made with fanfare, no trumpets, no shouting, just a quiet ripple through the tribe, a pause, a nod, a new thing woven into the pattern of life. And once it works, it stays. It becomes truth. Now your stick rests near the fire, drying. The meat from the fish sizzles on a hot stone. You still feel the rush of it. I saw something. I changed it. It worked. You glance at the elders. You wonder how many of them were once just like you, holding some strange idea in their hands, afraid it might be foolish, certain it might not work, and trying anyway. Not every idea survives. Some stones crack wrong. Some traps fail. Some stories lead nowhere. But the tribe endures because someone always is watching closely enough to ask, what if? You stare at the stick again. Tomorrow you'll try something else. Bend the tip, carve the end, add sinew to stiffen it. Because now you understand. Fire keeps us warm. Food keeps us strong. But discovery, that's what keeps us moving forward. Not just surviving. Changing. Planning tomorrow, the fire is low but still alive. Coals glow like eyes in the dark, and the smoke rises gently into the cold night air. You sit cross-legged beside it, your hands wrapped around your knees, your thoughts drifting like mist between stars. Most of the tribe is asleep, their bodies curled in quiet piles beneath furs. But a few remain awake. Elders, hunters, the firekeeper, they speak softly, not in stories now, but in questions. Because tomorrow is not something that simply arrives. It must be made. A large stick is drawn through the ash, clearing space. One of the elders picks up a bone and begins to draw, Lines, circles, not pictures but reminders. Trails taken, camps passed, where the sun rose, where the wind shifted, marks that mean nothing to outsiders but everything to those who live by the land. You're allowed to sit close and listen. Tracks were fresh here, one hunter says, pointing to a curved line. Too fresh, another replies. We were seen. The herd moved east. The firekeeper adds a small twig to the flame, then murmurs, "The moss was thick on the northern stones. It holds moisture. The roots will be deeper there." A third voice, the oldest of the group, speaks so softly you must lean in. "The river is rising. If we don't move camp soon, the cave will flood like it did in the season of black rain." You didn't know this, but you remember now stories of wet fur, spoiled meat, the cold sickness that followed. Planning tomorrow means remembering everything, the past, the patterns, the pain. You watch them, not as leaders but as weavers. Each voice adds a thread, looping it into the others until something whole begins to form. Not a map, not a command, but a sense. You realize this is what keeps the tribe alive. Not strength, awareness. It's easy to think survival is about muscle, about spears and sharp stones and warm fires, but it's also about choices, about when to move, where to gather, what to risk, and when to wait. Tomorrow the gatherers will go west toward the Pine Hills. The hunters will split, 2 to follow old tracks, 1 to check a hidden trail marked long ago. The firekeeper will stay behind with the children and elders, watching the sky, the flame, and the wind. Your name is mentioned. "Let the child go with the healer," someone says. "The cough is spreading. Better they both learn now." You freeze. It feels like a weight pressed into your chest. Not fear, not exactly, but something close. A heavy kind of importance. You don't know everything about herbs. You don't know how to measure heat with a hand or smell fever in breath. But you want to. You nod, even though no one looks at you. Tomorrow you will walk behind the healer, carry her satchel, collect moss, dig roots, maybe listen to the whispered names of old illnesses carried on the wind. The group's voices begin to fade, their planning done. The elder draws a final line in the ash and says, "We've seen what we need." The fire is stirred once more. Not to burn bright, just enough to last until dawn. One by one, they slip away into sleep. You stay behind a while longer, thinking. Not about stories now, not about discovery or laughter or even food. You're thinking about paths, the ones your tribe walks, the ones you've yet to walk, and the ones you will help choose someday. The stars above are still the same ones that watched your ancestors plan their tomorrows, silent, unchanging, but you are not. You're learning to see patterns where others see dirt, to remember pain not as punishment but as guidance, to ask questions, to listen harder than you speak. That is how a child becomes a planner, not by age, but by attention. Tomorrow will come, with its hunger and its danger and its cold. But tonight you've already taken the first step. You've seen how a future is built, quietly together, one thoughtful breath at a time. The eternal cycle, the sun has not yet risen, but already the sky hints at its return, faint glow above the hills, barely brushing the edges of darkness. You sit quietly near the dying embers, watching your breath swirl into the cold morning air. Around you, the camp stirs, soft footsteps, murmurs, the low rustle of furs being pulled tighter. A new day is beginning, just like yesterday, and yet completely new. You stand, shoulders stiff, legs sore from the night watch, but you stretch slowly, and your body remembers. It remembers every step, every scrape, every moment of hunger and warmth. Your body carries the memory of those before you, movements passed down like songs, unwritten but known. Your mother appears, wrapping her fur cloak around her shoulders, eyes half closed but already focused. She hands you a strip of dried meat. You chew it slowly, the salt waking your tongue. There is no rush. The morning knows its pace, and you have learned to follow it. The firekeeper, already awake, adds a dry branch to the coals. Smoke curls upward, not in haste but in rhythm. The flames catch with a gentle sigh. This fire has been burning since before you were born. It has never died. Like breath, like life. The storyteller once said, "We are not the fire nor the wood, we are the space between." You didn't understand it then, but maybe you do now. The older children gather water. The healer sorts herbs. The hunters check their spears. You see the same gestures, the same steps, repeated, but never mindless. They are acts of devotion, of memory, of purpose. Because every task is part of something bigger. You're not just gathering roots. You're preserving strength. You're not just sharpening tools. You're shaping survival. The tribe lives in circles. Day follows night. Hunger follows fullness. Winter follows warmth. Children become watchers. Watchers become hunters. Hunters become elders. Elders become stories. And the cycle begins again. You think back on yesterday, your first time on the night watch, your first tool, your first fire that stayed lit until dawn. Small things, but they are now your thread in the great weave. No one sees the whole pattern, but all contribute to it. A baby cries and is hushed by her grandmother. A boy runs past with a bundle of kindling. Two women laugh as they kneel beside the food pit, brushing away last night's ash. These are not moments, these are continuations. You're learning that survival is not just endurance. It is memory passed forward. It is gratitude wrapped in labour. It is sacrifice without announcement. Later today you'll go with the healer. You'll dig beneath frozen moss. You'll touch the earth that your ancestors walked, that their ancestors walked. You'll carry their wisdom in your satchel. And when the sun sets, you'll sit again by the fire. Maybe you'll tell a small story to someone younger. Maybe you'll just listen. But you'll be part of it all. The fire. The rhythm. The tribe. The cycle. The storyteller once said, "When you die, your name will fade, but not your hands. Not what they made, not what they carried, not what they taught." You remember that now. You look up. The light grows. Today, like every day, is not the first, and not the last, but it is yours. And in walking it with care, with curiosity, with courage, you help turn the wheel once more.